Baroness Bennet of Manor Castle.
My lords, it's a great pleasure to follow the three noble lords who've opened our session today and to express my broad agreement with the direction of everything that they said. In this group of amendments, I attach my name to Amendment 31 in the name of the noble Lord, Lord Stevenson. But I'm not intending to go through them one by one, except perhaps to note that both 61 in the name of the noble Lady Baroness Ritchie and 76 in the name of the noble Lord, Lord Bruce would perhaps seem to be the strongest and the key issues here, but all of them address issues of concern and at least seek to prevent what we can describe as a dictatorship from Westminster. The broad picture of what's happening in this group of amendments is we've been saying again and again in the discussion of this bill that trade is now understood to be a far more complex matter than it was thought to be decades ago when your lordship's house and the other place last considered them. There's a small rearguard we hear from occasionally saying trade has nothing to do with the environment or labour standards or considerations beyond the narrowly neoliberal economic, that such an issue should not be raised at all here. But that's clearly now an argument that's well past its sell-by date. Carbon emissions from the products we consider trading impact on us all, as do environmental destruction associated with them. If we think about the origins of the current pandemic in the destruction of nature, anywhere that happens in the world impacts on us all. But the impact is also very directly onshore. We think about the exposure of the situation of the garment industry in England, particularly in Leicester, the nature of trade, as well as the failure of regulation, a failure to have the will to regulate onshore, a part of that story. And of course, if we bring junk products in, that produce waste that has to be dealt with, which comes to the point of devolution. The aim of devolution, the direction of travel, is to allow nations to choose their own routes, to set, for example, higher environmental, labour and food standards, as we have seen happening, sadly, for England. And that, of course, is something we're going to get to a great deal more in the Internal Markets Bill. But in this context, we're talking about foreign trade. And whatever Westminster might be seeking to inflict on England in the form of free trade zones or destruction of standards, of bringing in inferior, damaging, disastrous products, the whole point of devolution is that nations can make their own democratic choices in systems far more democratic than in Westminster and not see them undermined by an influx of low standard foreign goods or services. So they have to be able to say no to these goods and services, to this trade. And what we're doing with these amendments is seeking to ensure that possibility is there. It is a democratic essential. Thank you, my lords.